Guys, Miss Wallace here. I want to talk to you a little bit this week since we've started a new unit about weather and climate. I want to talk to you a little bit about the tools that a meteorologist might use. These are typically used to measure weather. See that over here, weather instruments. But what we can do is we can take the average over a long period of time of the data we've collected from these tools and convert that into climate data. Because you'll remember, weather is a short period of time. What's happening outside your window right now, what's happening tomorrow, maybe this week. Really, once you start to go into months, seasons, years, decades, that's when you're going to start talking about climate. So let's think about a rain gauge. Most of you may have seen a rain gauge before. We are measuring rain, so liquid precipitation. So I'm going to just make some notes here. Measuring liquid precipitation. And because we're measuring a volume, typically we're going to see this in milliliters, so little m, big L. If it were a ton of rain, then you might be able to calculate that in liters, but it has to be a whole lot of rain. Now, we tend to see inches where we live because we don't go by the standard metric system like the rest of the world. So we'll usually say, well, we had a half an inch, we got 1 inch of rain, okay? So measuring liquid precipitation, that is a rain gauge. A barometer is going to be used to measure air pressure. So what does this mean? If you ever listen to the weather, and I want you to start doing that, whatever TV channel you prefer, you'll hear the meteorologists refer to air pressure systems, low pressure system, a high pressure system moving into the area. And so what you'll see, we have a symbol of an H, which means high pressure, and they're usually in a circle. And what this means is high pressure systems usually bring sunny skies, so lots of sun, and usually warm temperatures, so warm temps. And how do we remember this? So I use the idea of you have an aunt and an uncle. You've never met this aunt and uncle before, but this uncle's name is Harry. Notice the H. And he is always happy, okay? So I'm going to draw a little smiley face here. Happy Harry, right? That's our uncle, Happy Harry. He loves to stay outside in the sun and the heat, and he brings warm temperatures with them. So you think of high pressure systems are bringing sun, warm temperatures, and just days that we would love to play outside. Then we've got an aunt. Oh goodness, our aunt's name is Lucy. So you guessed it, we're going to have an L. This is the symbol for low pressure system. And Aunt Lucy, man, she's gloomy. She brings with her cool temps and usually some rain. So guess who's in town today? Yep, it is lousy Aunt Lucy. It's kind of dreary outside. It's cool, kind of rainy. I'm up here on Sunday afternoon, so if you're wondering what day I'm here. So low pressure, lousy Aunt Lucy is what we call her. So we're going to draw a sad face next to her. Lousy Lucy. That's the aunt. That's how you remember that. So barometer is measuring air pressure. We have high, we have low, and then you see the systems, the patterns that usually accompany those. An anemometer. Anemometer is going to be a little different. This is going to measure wind speed. And I'll show you some of these tools later this week. Measures wind speed, so how fast the wind is blowing outside. If you're a fisherman or a golfer or doing something outside, flying a kite, you kind of are interested in the wind. It's not going to be any good to you if there's no wind to fly your kite. So you may have to look up the wind speed for that day. Here lately, we've had some really strong winds. You can have sustained winds, and then you can have gusts. So gusts are usually where it's like a big burst of wind. A thermometer, or a thermometer is how we say it. You'll remember this thermal part is referring to heat, right? Heat. And this is our measurement. So we are measuring temperature with this. Now, you'll remember back in our first units of the year, we talked about thermal energy and how cold doesn't actually exist. It's just a lack of heat. So when you have extremely cold temperatures, let's say that it's fallen below 0 degrees, now you're getting into negative. That's really, really cold, or it's a really extreme lack of heat. Two different systems of measuring this. Our first unit that you see a lot here in America is degrees Fahrenheit. And what the rest of the world uses, and what we try to use in science class, is degrees Celsius. So typically, I'll refer to degrees Celsius. However, a lot of times when you watch the weather, you're going to hear the meteorologist report it in degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. You'll also see high and low temperatures. So they'll tell you what the high is going to be for the day and then what the low is going to be. You'll be interested in that when you start on your weather research project. And then a wind vane. So we know it has something to do with the wind. This is going to indicate wind direction. And you'll remember, if you've ever read a little story where you had a barn, and on top of that barn was something that kind of looked like this, and maybe it had a rooster or something at the top. I'm not going to try to draw a rooster. But what we have here are our cardinal directions, right? North, south, east, and west. Never eat soggy waffles. So north, we'll do that. North, east, south, and west, right? So never eat soggy waffles. That's how you remember that. And this is just going to be showing you the direction of the wind. So what we would see on this little wind vane is an arrow. So let's say the wind is blowing out of the north. So here my little arrow is going to point in that direction of the wind blowing. Okay, so these are some cool tools. We're going to have videos this week that we'll watch from Generation Genius. So give us some tips and ideas of how to use these tools. And then I'll try to show you what we have here at school. All right, enjoy.